Yo, what is going on, boys? It's your boy Top Dog Rolly or Rolly Dog back at you with another video. So in today it's a slightly little bit different to a normal guide. This is more of a hardware guide. This is a Sea of Thieves graphics guide. So basically, in terms of graphics in this game, it's whether you enjoy quality or performance. Me, I like a little bit of both, as I do make content, but I do like to be good at the game, you know what I mean? So in my PC right now I'm running a 3070 with an i5-12400. It is 32 megabytes of 4800 megahertz DDR5 RAM, and it running off an SSD. SSD is important if you want to do like 4K 1440p. Anyway, let's change the graphics up a bit because this is absolutely disgusting. This is cursed. Obviously, this is mythical, and it's absolutely beautiful. So if you look in the top left corner now, you will be able to see my FPS. I've had to turn VSync off as my monitor only does 144 frames per second. So let's get things started off with shadow. If I come to the sign, you can tell it's perfectly assigned until I turn the settings all the way down to cursed. There's not even a shadow, but I do get a big juicy 25% increase in my FPS. If I change it to common, you can kind of tell it's assigned, but it's glitching about. And then if you crank it up a bit, it's still, you can definitely tell it's assigned. You can see the rope now, but it's still a bit janky. But from a distance, you don't really take no notice, so I leave my shadows on rare. So next up is texture detail. So you see the sign, you can see all the faction logos. So let's turn texture down all the way to cursed. And you can literally just tell merchant simply by the colour. Order of Souls is literally just a blob, and everything else looks just a little bit goofy. Like the texture on the rocks look really pixelated, and just not a huge fan of them. The grass looks horrible. It's just not really great. But then if you crank it up, it still doesn't look good until you get to like rare and legendary. But I recommend, so if you're on legendary, you'll be playing at 1440p, that's what I do. So if you're on 1080p, rare should do fine. Obviously it looks a bit janky because I'm on 1440p, but legendary sound. If you're on 4K, I would recommend bumping it up to mythical, but I'm sure your graphics card has the capacity for that. So anyway, let's move on to model detail. So model detail, it's a bit of a weird one. You thought it would affect how the model looks overall, but it's at the distance in what it renders. So if you looked at that barrel when I was walking back in cursed, it kept popping a lot more. It popped about 3 or 4 times, but if you look when I'm mythical, it only pops once. I'll repeat that. That's a pop, but if you look with a cursed, look how much popping's going on. Very minimal with mythic. But again, how it works with 1080p and the 4K, the 1440p rule, it just works the same. The only thing is, this has quite a bit of an FPS din. It could take like a decent 10%, maybe 15% of your FPS. So if you're on 1080p rare, 1440p legendary, and again 4K mythical. Next is water detail. Water, the most controversial graphic in Sea of Thieves. Now, me personally, I cannot stand cursed or common water. Like, just look at it. It's just so ugly. So the game is 99.99999% water. So obviously, I want the water to look good, but I don't need to look at it. It don't need to look insane. So roughly for about from cursed, you're looking at like a 10% reduction if you bump it up to rare, and like a 25% reduction if you bump it up to legendary, and mythical. And mythical literally just affects how good the water looks from a distance. So keep it on rare, and that's everything you need to sort out. So last but not least, on the actual graphics of the graphics settings that you need to touch, anything under lighting detail you don't need to touch. So basically, lighting, it is probably the most intensive graphic setting in this game, because if you look, I'm getting about 190 FPS, and now I'm getting like 150, 160. So it's like a good 20% reduction. And basically, look how much brighter and vibrant everything looks. Like even if I just bump it up to common, it still looks way darker. So I just keep my lighting on cursed. I don't really care how this makes the game look. I just, for performance, and it's just a better advantage against other players. So I'm just going to leave that at cursed. Save myself a bit of time, bit of resources, and then anything under that you just don't need to mess with. But there is this optional one, colorblind filter mode. So just look how dull the game looks now I've took it on. So that's it with it on, with it off. Sorry. Now let me put it on. Everything just looks a lot more vibrant and more saturated without actually using the saturation slider, because that thing's insane. So I like to have this on. This is a very, very, very optional one, but yeah, it's probably one of my favourite settings. So we are finally into video settings. Direct 3D version, leave it 12. Multi-core rendering, leave it on. Unless you have a single core PC, then you obviously can't turn it on. Obviously, resolution, your native resolution, whether that's 720p, 1080, 1440 or 4K. Obviously full screen, VSync on, it makes everything smoother. And like I said, colour contrast, that thing is brutal. It looks like I'm in the Sea of the Damned, but the Fort Fortune looks pretty sick, I'm not gonna lie. But obviously you want to keep that on 50. And this is what it looks like with it all the way down. It just looks like ye olde time Sea of Thieves. So colour contrast, leave it in the middle. You can have your frame rate lock on. I have a 40Hz monitor anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Buffering, just leave it double. I've heard it can cause rendering issues and FPS input delay, not FPS drops, input delay if it's on triple or double. Now resolution scaling. So this is basically a multiplier, like a percentage of what you want your game to process. So basically I've done it at 250% of 1440p, so that's basically rendering above 4K. Obviously leave it at 100. You can maybe bump it up to like 110, 115 maybe if you want your game to look a little bit sharper, but it just looks really goofy anything under 100. And this is the tankiest part about your FPS. So 100 to 115, it'll all look fine. You don't need anything extra out of this. So yeah, that is pretty much it from me, your boy, Top Dog Rolly or Rolly Dog. I really hope you guys did enjoy this video and it helped some of you beautiful people out there get your PCs up and running faster than this. Well, I said than they should. As fast as they can, getting your bang for your buck basically. Anyway, it's all from me, your boy. Peace.